What's up, everybody, and welcome to ClearTalk. We're going to do real quick, or well, this video is going to be about um, what I think the real reason is for all of the stuff going on in the Middle East, the intentions that are being pushed by Israel on Iran, and even potentially by probably some members of the United States as well. And that is regime change. Yes. I think that this whole idea around nuclear fear, right, of Israel, Iran getting a nuclear weapon or whatever, is just complete BS. And I think it's all about just straight up regime change. And we're going to talk about that. But first, real quick, I'm going to give the latest update as far as the concern and everything going around, because I know it's been real big the past 24 hours or 48 hours or so. The big question of whether or not, are we going to be in there? Are we not? From the early morning, 3 o'clock, security meetings and stuff at the White House, and, him leaving the G7 early, Trump leaving the G7 early and everything, and the rhetoric of, I don't know, I might do it, I might not do it, I might do it, I might not do it, who knows? No ceasefire, no this, no that, no, uh, I might give the go ahead. Who knows? I might do it. Who knows? We might. We know where he is, and we're not going to do it. Not yet, anyways. All that kind of shit. As of today, at the press conference, the White House secretary stated that was supposed to be directly from Trump, that he had decided that they were going, because of the positivity of further talks with Iran, because he stated also yesterday that throwing around that, well, Iran says they want to come talk to us, so maybe we'll do that, maybe we don't. I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to talk. Whatever. That big, due to the possibility of talks. Okay. That he would make a decision. For starters, he's urging Israel to lower down their offensive, to try to aid in the ability to actually, to have some talks with Iran, and that he would make his decision within the next 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's a pretty big time frame. Kind of weird, but 2 weeks time. Now, my question is, if Israel does not slow down, or will there just be this sort of slow paced, tit for tat little thing for the next 2 weeks between Israel and Iran? Are we just going to have this couple of missiles here, couple of missiles there, or are we going to, kind of really chill out? I don't know. But right now, to kind of cool everybody for the moment. Now, unfortunately, with Trump, shit could hit the fan and completely change by this time tomorrow. Who knows? Because I feel like his mood and opinion on things changes like the wind. It's like whatever he wakes up with and hears something, and if it puckers his butt, he goes with it. I don't know. But as of right now, from my understanding, what I'm hearing straight from the secretary's mouth was that 2 weeks. So hopefully there will be some ability to actually have some kind of, whether it be direct or indirect, talks with Iran, and trying to come to some sort of deal. Now, there again, the problem here is that, and what we're going to get in on this video is the fact that we are asking something of Iran, or we've been, asking something of Iran since, reneging from the original deal that we handed them, that we did not, to not allow any type of enrichment. And you must understand when I say that that is like not feasible, not only not feasible, but actually under international agreements, charters, um, doesn't go along with those agreements. Because you understand that we have something called the IAEA. Okay. This is the International Atomic Energy Agency. It's the agency that oversees scientific, technological advances in nuclear energy projects all across the world. And there's a charter agreement that nations all over the world sign into, this agency, so that there can be like understanding. There's audits and research done, talks back and forth, things looked at and regulated to make sure that people are staying within certain parameters and the safety of all the nuclear programs and stuff that are going on from this country to this country to this country to this country to this country. Okay, this is what this agency does. All right, it's a part of the are connected, I think, somewhat indirectly or directly with the UN or whatever, or coincides with it, or works along with it, along with the nations and everything, like whatever. I don't know, something like that. And I have, we're going to talk, we're going to see here. I can go back to the overview to kind of talk about it. Here we are. Okay, this is the IAEA. All right, the International Atomic Energy Agency is the world's central governmental forum for scientific and technological cooperation in the nuclear field. It works for the safe, secure, and peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology, contributing to international peace and security and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Okay, that's what they are. Their statute. The statute of the IAEA was approved on the 23rd of October, 1956. This is how long this has been, by the Conference on the Statute of the International Atomic Energy Agency, which was held at the headquarters of the United Nations. It came into force in July 29th of 1957. The statute has been amended 3 times by application of the procedure laid down on paragraphs A and C of Article 18. On the 31st of January 1963, some amendments to the first sentence of the paragraph. Let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. Does this actually state anything? Maybe it doesn't. Okay. Either way. What happens is that countries sign on, collectively or whatever, in agreement with this agency to the, like I said, for them to do, studies and audits and things like that on military development and safety, stuff around certain, all the facilities and things like that, whether it's for actual like nuclear weaponry, nuclear, like civil nuclear stuff, or energy and whatnot, whatever, any kind of nuclear field development. They work like that. That's what they do. That's what their purpose is. Well, this conflict over there is, there's 3 players, right? There are the United States, Israel, and Iran. Okay. 2 of those countries have nuclear power, have nuclear weapons. 2 of those countries are also signed into the IAEA. Okay. But these are not the same two countries. The United States and Israel have nuclear power, have nuclear weaponry. But the two signed on to the IAEA is the United States and Iran. That's right. Iran is signed on to the IAEA, but they don't have nuclear weaponry. They have a nuclear program for civil energy, but they do not have nuclear weaponry. On the other hand, Israel, though, Israel is not signed in to the IAEA. They do not allow for this agency to come in and check their nuclear programs or weaponry or anything else, any kind of development that they do nuclear-wise. They refuse it. And then on top of that, they deny that they even have nuclear weapons when everybody knows they do. But yet Israel's the one concerned that Iran is going to do something. Iran has been in compliance with the IAEA and allowing them to check their programs and stuff. That's the reason why we had the agreement that Obama put on back in back in 2017, 2016, whatever it was, for them, to give them the range in which they, agree that we would allow them agree and be on page with for their enrichment for, civil reasons, purposes, the local energy and stuff like that, which they have a right to because they are signed on to the IAEA. Because they are signed on to the agency who regulates energy field production. And it's an international agency that works along with everybody to make sure that everybody's in compliance. But Israel is not signed on to this. Keep that in mind. And by all reports from the IAEA and any intelligence that the United States could muster was proving that Iran was staying with the deal, that they were not over enriching, they were within safety and compliances and everything else. They were not getting a nuclear weapon. They were not trying to. All their audits were. They were completing and good on all their audits with this. Where our United States, Pentagon can never even hit a financial audit. But yet, because Trump didn't like the deal, or somebody got in Trump's ear that didn't like the deal, talked him into, or he talked himself into, or whatever the case, ripping it up in his first term. Going against it. It was a deal that we made, that we agreed to, and then Trump ripped it up. And it was like, what? Nah, never mind. We don't agree with it, and this is not what we're not gonna accept it. So what did Iran do? They said, okay, fine. I mean, we're not going to stop enriching. We're not going to stop with our program because we use it for our own means and good, but we're going to now enrich it however we want. Even though they were still, to a degree, they're still signed on to this, to the IAEA, and they still are within, compliance, even though I don't know that they necessarily have allowed them in much, but they still are in talk with them because the IAEA has recently reported that, with all this nuclear talk, that the ability that they had, everything that they were able to look at, unless it was something that Iran has like secretly hidden somewhere that nobody knows about, and that, like everything that they could go in and look at and could, study showed and proved that they do not have any nuclear weaponry and are not even attempting to get it. And then, like we stated in a previous video, our own U.S. intelligence, everything that they could find or look is, we're supposed to have some of the best intelligence in the world. Just in March, stated that they were not enriching and were not looking into a nuclear weapon. And that even if they did start today, it would take them about 3 years before they could do it. And you have one. But yet all you constantly hear, the rhetoric coming from Trump, coming from Netanyahu, coming from, many GOP, Congress members and lawmakers and stuff, is, nuclear weapon, nuclear weapon. We can't have them have a nuclear weapon. We can't have them have a nuclear weapon. We can't have them have a nuclear weapon. But is this really about them having a nuclear weapon? When all things show that they were not, and that they were not in any way, form, or fashion trying to. Or is it the other rhetoric that you hear from Israel, particularly in Israel insiders and that they actually, and this is something that they've been wanting for decades now, is for the Iranian regime to be completely overthrown. And we even hear it from our own inside, lawmakers and politicians, that was, that they would like to see that happen. And I think it was just yesterday that Israel, through some hackery, so to speak, was able to hack Iranian state TV, at least certain sectors of it, and they played a video that was all propaganda around the citizens basically rising up against the government to push them out of power. It was a regime change propaganda video trying to persuade internal regime change, pressure for regime change. Which, we've seen videos from Netanyahu previously, when he, what he likes to do is he likes to talk to whoever he's, trying to blow the hell up. He did the same thing with, to the Palestinians in Gaza. If you just rise up against Hamas and just push them out, he did the same thing here. He does, if you just rise up and, push the regime out of business, and, we're all good. This has been something that they have been wanting for decades now. For the regime, the people in charge, to be thrown out of power. But the question then remains still, the question that we've been asking all along is, what happens next? Now you have a bubble that's going to need to be filled, and who's going to fill it? Because there are other powers within Iran that are not exactly good either. And they've had these, this type of regime for a few decades now, since we toppled the original democratic one they had. Or original, but the one that they did have. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that they don't have any power to take over those that, would attempt some sort of democratic government. They don't have the forces, and that's the RNGC has all the power as far as military force, pressure, money. So when you hear all this talk about nuclear, that we can't have them have a nuclear weapon, you can't have them have a nuclear weapon, and that seems to be the big talking point and what's scaring everybody, and what's actually being used to try to pull American support, American citizen support into actually involving ourselves in this conflict. But that's not the reason. Because we've had polls come out also that have stated, when asked, okay, do you want, Iran to have a nuclear weapon? Most people say no. No, we don't want them having a nuclear weapon. And it's mostly because there's been such a, you know, propaganda campaign for years within the United States that, Iran is so bad. They're just bad, 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 bad people. And bad, 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 bad people can't have nuclear weapons because then they'll do bad, 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 bad things with those nuclear weapons. That's what they used to say um about North Korea too, didn't they? And North Korea couldn't have one. They couldn't have one. They just know, we can't have them have one because they're crazy. They're dangerous. Yet they have them. And where's the threat? And North Korea got them the same reason everybody else gets them, as a deterrent. So that those who dare to threaten them won't threaten them because they have nuclear deterrent, which is the same thing that's going to push Iran to continue to try to do the same thing because of the threat, the kind of threats that we are doing now, the kind of threats that Israel has been doing for decades. The difference is the United States has kept Israel at bay for all these decades, even though they wanted to go ape shit on them. But now there's somebody in there that's kind of, they tried to do it with Biden. They just tried to do it when Biden was in office a few months ago. But Biden held him back. You can talk shit all you want to about Biden, and I have plenty of things to talk shit about him about. And, he's asleep and whatever the case, whatever. But whether or not you want to actually say it was Biden or just people within his administration, either way, but they said no. They held him back from doing, anything crazy to Iran. But now Trump has got in there, and it's a different story. Let's see what happens. Don't get pulled into agreeing to something because of a fear of something specific. Because polling also shows that when you ask people, hey, are you okay with a regime change? Well, that's a whole different story. Because regime change doesn't seem quite as imminent or important as a nuclear threat. Now, yes, there are some people that still would like to see a regime change because they see the regime as, a authoritarian, theocratic regime at, talking about women's rights and blah, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, fine, granted. But, Israel's the same way. Israel acts like they're democratic, but they're not. They're theocratic. It's all about Jewish religion and Jewish beliefs. And they are a Jewish nation. So they're not really democratic. But And while there can be discussion about how the regime could change, like policies and whatnot, and maybe influence we can have on that, but and or someone can have on that or whatnot, whatever. But regime change doesn't seem as imminent or as necessary, especially since you know they somewhat have the ability to change it themselves, albeit not exactly easy. But when you ask it that way, should we bomb? Should we get involved for the purposes of regime change? People go, I'm not so sure about that. That seems a bit much. That doesn't really seem like a reason to just invade or take over and involve ourselves. Now, if we get attacked, like, our personnel in the region gets attacked, people are a little bit more, susceptible to agreeing to, well, I mean, we got to retaliate, right? But that's the reason why the threats are there from Iran. Doesn't mean they're actually going to do it, because they also stated, look, as long as the U.S. doesn't get involved, we're not attacking you. We are attacking solely Israel because they are attacking us. And I've stated this before too. As crazy as the regime could be domestically, the Iranian regime militarily has been one of the most thoughtful, rational, mature identities in this whole conflict all along, even when it comes to the stuff in Gaza. Any type of retaliation up until this recent engagement, but up until beforehand, was carried out methodically so that nobody got hurt. It was all thought out, where Israel does not care. If anything, personally, I'm more concerned about Israel having nuclear weaponry than Iran having nuclear weaponry. I'm more concerned about Israel making a mistake or doing something outrageous, or which they've been doing, than Iran doing so. I mean, mistakes can always be made, but sometimes mistakes seem purposeful, and then sometimes they don't. Right? Israel tends to come off as the ones that kind of purposely mistake. So when all this talk goes about should we get involved, should we not get involved, you really need to don't just take the question that's being asked of you. Kind of look at the whole picture. Ask, well, why? Why are we getting involved? Why would we, go the step further and ask the different questions? And don't just get pulled into agreeing to something that's going to get us or get soldiers or get, other complications happening, get us involved in a way and you sign off of as a citizen for something that you actually, wouldn't agree to if you had been asked a different way, or if you had known the real reasons. This is shaping up to be and looking like the same thing that we've been getting into over and over and over and over again. From the Vietnam War to the Gulf War to the Iraq War to the, Syria to Libya, to all these different things that we have interacted in, Afghanistan. I mean, that are being pulled into, and then afterwards we regret. We agreed to it originally, and then we regret afterwards, because it's like we are doing the same stuff over and over again, expecting a different outcome, and yet we do not get that different outcome. And what is that called? So that's what I'm asking. Recalibrate, think about it, and don't just initially sign off. And get like as if, as if we really have that much control. But I'm just saying, if to any degree that our dear orange leader is actually looking at, stuff on social media and whatnot, and trying to sort of, to some degree, feel the temperature in the room, so to speak. Make sure he's reading the right temperature. A temperature that, for me, would be like, let's chill the fuck out. Everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. Let me know what you think in the comments. And until next time, peace, clear talk. I'm out.